In a startlingly ironic headline, journalist Anthony Phillips told us that exotic pet enthusiast Pam Weaver was tragically humped to death by her pet camel. The story, sadly, does not end there. As the camel was, in fact, bacterian, authorities are anticipating a second hump. Well, if you wanted honesty, you have come to the wrong place. You've come with a camel. This is the Disinformed podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm John.
I'm Michael.
I'm Courtney.
I just want to go on record. I don't think the camel should get put down. I know that's what
it's a hot
everyone's
take,
thinking,
John.
but I don't think that the camel should get put down.
I feel like that's why it forced itself on its owner in the first place, is that no one built it up when it was younger. So, I mean, it's just there's only so much slander it could endure before it finally just lashed out.
And I mean, also, the poor thing isn't getting milked regularly. You know, it's gonna be all backed up. It's gonna need to just ooze out.
Yeah, the frustration drives
Everybody knows. Gots to have humps with a camel.
Is the Ben Shapiro of camels.
And he loves a desert, so I mean, basically, he is quite close. I think I understand Ben Shapiro a lot more intrinsically now.
Gross.
Michael, you were saying before we were rolling, we podcast hushed you because you were saying that you were going to wake up in the process of this recording because you're pretty relaxed right now because you were watching a movie. And Courtney said, "Oh, you were watching a movie? Name 5." So let's go ahead and continue where we left off, shall we? Name 5.
So the movie I was watching was called Arlo the Alligator Boy. It came out this year.
Okay.
Okay.
And you said Dragonlance for your first film.
Yes, I can even give you the year in a moment when I'm done thinking the other 3.
What year is it?
Okay, we're not going to let this last the entire
right
episode, so you're going to...
No, I'm kidding. Come on, give me
No,
more. Give me
I'm
more
doing it
movies.
right now.
You're not
Typing,
looking anything up. You're not
tippity-top
cheating.
movie.
Nope, don't
stop
you cheat.
typing.
Anyway.
How can you
Okay,
not
fine.
name 5 movies off the top of your head?
I was looking up the year when Dragonlance, Dragons of Autumn Twilight
Why
came
are
out.
you yelling at me?
Because you got me. You were yelling at me first.
Hey, Michael, quick question, though. What year did that come out?
2008.
No one fucking cares.
Man.
Okay, fine. If you want.
Name a couple.
All right, Jaws. We got Jaws. We
Okay.
got Requiem for a Dream. We got Pi.
You're doing
because
fan-
both of those are my favorite
Pie?
movies. Pi. The
Oh,
movie
like,
Pi.
I thought you just forgot American Pie.
No.
No, the other kind.
I actually can't
No, it's,
remember if I sat down and saw that all the way through.
I think it's
In one
Senpai is
sitting.
what he's talking about.
Notice me,
Oh,
senpai.
Senpai.
Yeah.
Notice
You know, I'm honestly surprised that you just didn't name like Star Wars Episode 4, Episode 5, Episode 6, Episode
No,
7, and then just
I don't
call it
think-
that.
I'm not.
He didn't know
I
there were
don't
that
think
many.
normal. Okay.
That's probably
It's a fine
Yeah,
point
they-
you make.
Michael, do
They
you
just came out with like Star Wars 11, right? That's the one with Lando Calrissian, whatever Rissian.
Oh my god.
Lando Calrissian, yeah.
Yeah.
Lando Kardashian. He's it's Kanye's 5th kid, I think. The one they took away from him.
I also podcast hushed myself last night because Courtney, celebrating, came and visited me at work, and I said, "Don't let me forget to tell you this story." But I had the most traumatizing experience with a transient person that I have ever had. And it wasn't like one of the stories that ends in, and then I called the cops, and she had already wrecked half the place. It's just one of these like characters that their image burns into your retinas, and you can't get it out.
Okay. The one thing I should point out before you continue on that, though, is I feel like I should give credence to the fact, for those who are not familiar with why we do this to Michael, it is kind of it's an ex machina kind of moment for us, which is that why are you asking me these questions? Because I'm curious what you'll choose.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's Michael's rationale behind the things that occur to him synaptically, and the same reason we did, like the guilty pleasure music playlist is because I'm fascinated by the things that happen in Michael's brain. And so it's important for us to clarify that I'm studying an android in action. But John, tell me all about the crazy transient that ruined your life.
I was literally 3 minutes into my shift. because I looked down at the tablet or at the register because I had the thought of, you have to be fucking kidding me. It can't be this soon into my shift that I have to experience this. I'm not even supposed to be here today. So it's this woman, and she has a big purse that looks like a knockoff Michael Kors, and it's just like there's overflowing tissue paper and plastic from whatever the fuck, like whatever food or gum, I don't fucking know. And she's rolling behind her like a roller suitcase, and on top of the suitcase is another knockoff Michael Kors bag, sandwiched in between plastic bags from various places that she's been or just collected trash and clothes. So she rolls in. She kind of looks like what I would imagine to go to Dune, the Reverend Holy Mother that Paul meets in the beginning. She looks like a Benny
Gaius Helen
She
Mohai.
looks like a Benny Gesserit witch, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, all right. I have a
long
vivid
gray
picture
hair,
now.
Yeah, her skin is
Was
melting off.
Was there a giant fish person being wheeled behind her in like a Bacta tank as well? Or...
Pretty much.
Okay, all right.
And I swear to you guys, and if you're listening, I desperately am trying to be a better person, and I don't like to assume things about people just because of how they roll in. For all I know, and it's happened before, this person could end up spending money and be a bar patron and maybe be very odd, but you know, not a problem. But then she opened her mouth and told me something, and that's when it all went to shit for me, because she had 2 teeth. She had 2 teeth, and her mouth, permanently stained with blood. There was blood in her mouth actively.
Oh my god!
Like a pool of blood in her mouth. It's kind of like. And she goes, "Hi, I'm gonna use your restroom, and then I'm gonna come back out and have a soda." And I said, "Are you planning on spending money? Are you gonna sit down and have some drinks?" And she goes, "Do you know who I fucking am?" And I said,
Mother Teresa risen from the grave?
This
Yeah.
was of all my new nightmares. No, I was like, I sure don't. She goes, "Huh, are you the manager here?" And I should have just been like, absolutely I am. But I didn't. I ended up giving her my manager's card, or the GM's card. And she's like, do you want to know how you came off? And I was like, I mean, I guess I have. I was like, well, I guess I have a couple seconds. Yeah. What did it sound like? She goes, it sounded to me that what you said was, "Hi, if you're not going to spend money at this bar, then you can fuck yourself." And I was like, well, I never said for you to fuck yourself, but you basically got the gist. Yeah.
I mean, what else do you go to a bar for?
I go,
use
you
the bathroom,
literally
duh.
just described our GM's policy to me. I was like, so I'd be more than happy. Like, his number's on the card. She goes, your name? And I was like, here you go. Not just first
You're
name.
like,
Not
I'm
giving her my last name.
Sheldon.
Oh, I thought you said, here you go. That
And
was
she
your name.
starts trying to, she keeps asking me questions. I'm trying to respond to her, and she keeps cutting me off. And I was like, ma'am, if you want the answer to the questions that you're asking, it probably would behoove you to let me speak. It might help if I could respond to your questions if you want the answer.
Radical notion here. I understand.
And then I
Crazy.
finished up with, also, I'm not really going to argue with you here. I'm just going to have to ask you to leave. And she goes, oh, so you call the cops? And I was like, I have their number available to me right this very second. I was like, I'd be more than happy to call the cops. What would you like to do? And then she left. But the image of her, like, just, I don't know, it chilled me to the bone. It's like when all of the individual children in It see Pennywise for the first time, and it's the manifestation of their fears. Her face and her 2 teeth and her blood-filled mouth was the actual manifestation of my fears.
Are you sure she was actually there? Like, was that
I'm
a real
not.
person?
That's
Were
the
you
fucked
the
up
only
thing.
person who saw her?
No, I had some 2 people near the bar because it was pretty slow, and they're like, "Thanks for the entertainment." I was like, "I please to aim, thanks."
Yeah, because you were standing there talking to yourself, and they were like, "Oh my god, like, what just came over John?"
This is almost a better theory than the people that watch me through my studio window.
Ooh.
I disagree. I'm far more entertained by the people that just stalk you from the street.
Well, I hope you enjoy the constant crying.
Now, you're saying she only had a pair of
She only had
twofers.
two fizz.
Now, are you sure that she has not been working part-time as a field goal
I
somewhere?
have no fucking idea, Shane.
Well, it was all she wanted
Okay.
for Christmas, and it was all she got.
Understandable. So you didn't like her teeth.
No, they're just
Do you like teeth in general, John?
sure. I
Does
mean, in
Get
and out,
Do you like teeth? Name 5.
molar, canine,
Bicuspid.
wisdom.
Wisdom.
Ew.
There's multiple wisdoms.
The front
Wisdom's
teeth.
1, 2,
yeah.
3, and 4. Hey, crazy girl on Instagram that I follow who's a dentist but also sucks. Can you tell me?
Are there sex workers
I was
that
gonna
give
say-
oral in multiple capacities?
I
Oral
still
care.
can't believe
Suck.
that we got through the pandemic without starting Becky's OnlyFans, where she diagnoses my big dumb balls every episode.
We were
I
talking
forgot
about that last night over drinks. It was so funny.
Oh, you hurt your knees? Probably because your big dumb balls are too full.
That has been my abiding belief from the entirety of my life. I think since age 7, I was like, you know what? I'm feeling a little lightheaded. It could be because my big dumb balls are too full. Anybody want to help out?
I leaned to my coworker over this festival weekend that we had, and I was like, do you ever think that you're just too horny of a human being to work in the environment that we do? Because just so many attractive people roll through that bar. I'm like, my dick is about to shoot off my body. You are just too
I mean,
hot
some
to
of
be
them
here.
literally roll into
Some of
there.
them literally roll, yes.
Yeah, with a cart and several bags and 2 teeth.
Holy fuck. It wasn't the Benny Gesserit witch. It was the fucking, it was the gypsy gal from fucking Drag Me to Hell. That's what this bitch fucking looked like. She,
Oh shit.
I haven't seen that movie, by the way.
what?
Yeah, for real, have not.
You, I can authentically vouch, I think you will love it, and I will let you borrow it.
I mean, I've lived it.
Yeah, we've all played shows with Sam.
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. I've been dragged to hell on many occasions.
Anyway,
It's off
I
done
am,
lap.
I'm gonna loan you that movie because I think you'll
Okay.
have a lot of fun. With
I'm
it.
intrigued. I am so ready.
Or
you don't know.
we could traumatize Courtney and we could all watch it together.
Oh my god.
I feel like that is, if we're ever going to expand our content portfolio, that would be one of just like, you know, the desensitized males who love horror films and the woman who's just terrified at everything. Watch the worst things
But the
imaginable
concept
occur.
of that show would annoy the ever living piss out of you because what it would require is that there'd be 3 or 4 hot mics in front of us and we would be talking while the movie was on.
There's no such thing.
There's only one hot mic.
And he's not here.
Yep.
He's magical.
Triple X.
As my mom would say, it's so weird. I can't even say it right. She always says Tatum Channing.
Stop.
Also, you will appreciate this. Here's a glorious bit of Sherry Americano, which I love because she brings it up every time we're in a room together. She cannot distinguish between Al Pacino and Robert De Niro.
I mean, who can?
She cannot. There is nothing that you can tell her that will help to make the one differentiated from the other. When I'm fascinated by this because it's like Pacino is kind of a caricature of himself, and De Niro has managed to age into being a caricature of himself. It took a long time for him to get there compared to, you know, Pacino was there in the 80s and just has been at 11 ever since. But yeah, she just cannot. She'll start naming films that you know, either one of them are in, and then just transpose them. And if you get to like The Godfather or Heat, she's just
She's a fucking
completely
wreck.
lost. Yeah,
Oh, no.
she'll never recover.
I still need to watch Casino and I still need to watch Heat.
You've never seen Heat?
Nope.
I'm as disgusted with you as you were with me for not seeing Drag Me to Hell.
Looks like we both have assignments.
Yes, indeed.
I'm almost done with my and then I'm done with my pop culture vomit. I'm almost done with my my filmography watch of Kevin Smith.
Ooh, so how's the end of Jersey Girl?
It was kind of by the numbers. It wasn't my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
think
not
I don't think I'll
great.
rewatch it.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
it's good for you know, it's a single serving kind of film.
It made me appreciate the people that like that's the only kind of movie that they enjoy in a weird way, because it was like watching it like I'm probably never going to rewatch it, but while I was watching it I didn't have bad feelings of it, you know. I was just it was a nice, like, I knew everything that was going to happen. I basically knew when it was going to happen, and there's comfort in like watching something predictable outside of the usual, which is me watching people do eyelid surgery to themselves.
It's kind of the vanilla soy milk of Kevin Smith films.
Yeah.
It's
I will
not
say,
offending anybody. It's good if it's, hidden with other flavors. It kind of buoys other things, but it's not intended to be taken on its own.
So where I am, and also Michael and Courtney are just like, huh?
Is that any different than usual?
I was going to say, this is episode 94.
So I am officially at the only one in the list that he did not write as well. So I am on the infamous Cop Out with Tracy Morgan and Bruce Willis, which it is whatever. It's the same. I feel the same way about buddy cop movies that I do as like the Jersey Girl kind of thing. They're very predictable. It's fun though. I think Kevin Smith, so far in my rewatch of all of his movies, really hit his stride on Clerks 2.
Yeah, I think he became a good deal more self-assured and just realized that, much like I have these days, that I have a pocket. And here's my comfort zone, and this is what I do. And listen, I'm just going to play a CGD progression with an occasional A and an F. And if you want more than that, I might be able to manage a B from time to time. But beyond that, it's cowboy chords from here on out. Like, I'm comfortable with that. The Clerks 2 was kind of Kevin Smith realizing that, 3-chord songs are pretty good for me. I don't need to write, Bohemian Rhapsody in order to feel accomplished.
Right. There's also a lot of jokes, obviously, throughout all of his early stuff and maybe his present stuff that don't really work after they're released. Like with more time, like the jokes are just a little harsh. But I like Kevin Smith as a person. I was talking to Becky about it. Like there's some bits in Clerks 2 that you would never see written into a movie nowadays, as far as comedic bits, because of how
Ass to mouth.
Well,
you can't taste racism.
That that's the scene I'm talking about.
Okay.
I don't want to get too far in.
Too late.
But you look at who Kevin Smith is as a whole, and you see him as a person. Like if you followed him in any way, shape, or form, and you know that he's not that guy, and he stands by his films. He's like, oh yeah, those jokes probably don't work anymore, but fuck it. The movie came out, and it was its time and place kind of thing. So I don't know. Clerks 2 is worth a gander if you haven't seen it. Michael, you'd probably actually all of us in this room should see Clerks 1 and 2, because if you've done any service industry in any way, shape, or form, it is, as the children say, chef's kiss. What?
How does it compare to the other like kind of service industry movie, Waiting? If you ever
Waiting is kind of the Diet
Inspired.
Coke Clerks. It specifically says it's intended to try to be like Clerks.
Oh, I had no idea. I did not. I was not aware of that. Okay.
Yeah, they wanted to have clerks in a restaurant. Is kind of the general pitch for that.
Oh, okay.
film.
Then I would
You
really
made
enjoy
a
it.
really exaggerated noise at that. Do you not
I
like?
did not like that movie at all.
Okay.
Why?
It's
If
a
I-
very like juvenile man film.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
I think what
That's
they
fair.
call it is either late night comedies or stoner comedies or both. It's like what comes on at or back in the fucking day.
I mean,
Jesus.
there's a long running joke in that film about like having public piss syndrome. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a movie that's really intended for female audiences.
Well, I think that my struggle with it. So I saw that movie probably the first time a year or two ago,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I started my career in professional kitchens at the age of 15 as a only girl working with grown ass men who sexually harassed me regularly. And watching that stuff just like being characterized and being made funny when it's like real shit that happens in restaurants constantly was triggering for me personally. So I think that helps with my bias, but like there were some funny bits, but overall I'm just like it's overplayed. Like anybody who's worked in the service industry is like, yeah, that's pretty spot on.
You're like, you nailed it.
Boring.
There's always one. Yeah.
Next.
I mean, we do have to watch people pick things out of pubic hair at the end of that film, and
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a minute, but I probably guess that it was dated. That it's super dated now.
Oh,
Yeah. What year did it come out, Michael? I'm fucking with you.
Like, don't test me. I will look it up.
Saw your eyebrows lift up like you were immediately interested.
hey, Michael, you like stoner comedies?
Yeah.
Apparently so.
Yeah, name 5.
You little fucking junkie.
Most of the Kevin Smith's movies.
I mean, you got to name them individually if you're gonna play
Clerks
that game.
1, 2. He went up to like 5, right?
Nope.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like Star Wars,
let
but
him
different.
lead the rest
Yeah.
of his life believing that
Clerks
there's
episode
5
5.
Revenge of the Late Shift.
clerks. 'I accept it.
5.
All right, so let's get into the movie. 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 Let's get into the movie.
I'm waiting. I got all day.
Or are you trying? I thought you were gonna do the usual.
No, I want him to actually name 5.
Okay.
I'm not getting any younger, as evidenced by the fact. I'll give you a moment.
Pineapple Express.
That's not a Kevin Smith movie.
No,
I thought you were asking me to. Yeah,
I was just teasing. I'm making him feel uncomfortable. You're fine, Michael. You don't have to.
Would Dazed and Confused count as one?
Yeah, Pineapple.
Sure.
Dazed and Confused.
Okay. Harold and Kumar.
Yep.
I would say it feels like a
all
Sodercom.
movies, by the way. I don't think Shane has seen, but
yeah, you would be correct.
Well, I can't really speak for the. I can speak for the Harold and Kumar. It was interesting when I saw it when I was.
Got nice boobs in it.
Yeah.
I see those people when they come into the library. I have to deal with them enough. I don't need to watch a 2-hour fictionalized film of their
Very fair.
fantastical adventures out into reality. But, speaking of my not getting any younger, I finally reached a point last night where I almost got to the breaking point where I'm like, I can't play video games anymore.
Oh, no. Are you playing Sekiro
You
again?
tell.
Well, no, I've quit Sekiro. I completely just backed off where I'm like, I'm done. It's not gonna. I was doing so. I got Injustice because it's very cheap, and I have not played it yet. And as a DC aficionado, I'm like, this is fun. Like, how do I not do? The Mortal Kombat with DC characters. I'm all about this, and so I'm playing it, and I'm having a really great time. And then the challenging bits begin. And I'm playing through the I started the game and not realizing there's a tutorial that will go through once the full game is booted. So I'm trying to learn the dynamics of the game, just button mashing initially and then, they have movesets in the pause menu. Okay, cool. That helps. And I'm playing around with things, but I'm still just getting my ass handed to me. And so I'm like, I guess I got to start on easy now. This is where I'm at. This is just the place I'm at in my life where I get to do this. So finally I get the whole game booted. I go through the tutorial. I'm like, this helps a lot. And then as I'm going through the tutorials, they're showing you how to do combos. And even in the tutorial setting where everything is safe, I cannot hit the sequence of buttons fast enough to trigger the combos.
Yeah.
I'm just not capable. And I'm like, I've reached the point where my reflexes and my hands have just been brutalized by years of self-abuse. And I'm just not going to be able to do this any longer. And I finally walked into Melissa's like, I'm the old guy who's like, I don't like video games anymore. If I have to do anything more than Tetris, I don't have the dexterity any longer to make this happen.
Well, sad day.
Yeah, it's really, and I mean, I'll get back on the horse and I'll keep, just being trash at video games, but still, it's a very difficult hill to start going over, my friends.
I would say that you
prepare for it.
I would say that the main thing that you proved isn't that you're old; it's that you just don't like or can't do fighting games.
You just can't be competitive in anything. Yeah,
just can't get good.
Yeah, I can't get good. That, I gotta tell you, is one of the most frustrating things to see for anybody who's like, you're looking for sympathy for From Software stuff, and they're like, why don't you just get good? Like, why don't you get a job, you lazy fuck? I realize you have 18 hours a day to spend in your mom's basement just, pissing out Mountain Dew into a bucket in front of you while you're sitting there just ratcheting away at Sekiro. I don't have the time.
It's all well and fine that you played Bloodborne in its entirety only using the spoon, but have you ever tried pussy?
Shit's addictive,
Wait,
son.
using that to beat Bloodborne? I don't get it.
I mean, basically, I feel like there's segments of that game that they do use it in order to win things.
It's Lovecraftian. There's
I mean, the pig fisting alone is enough to really ruin your sex life for a couple days.
That pig with tits.
Indeed. Melissa made the unfortunate error of walking through the room at one point when I was in the midst of stopping one of the hogs, and she was just like, slow head shake, and then just walked into the other room. I was like, it's a wonder that she's with me. I really just don't understand.
Do you know what makes pigs taste so great, though?
Semen?
MSG.
That was the worst segue I've ever heard in my life.
I'm giving half credit. That's actually a decent. John, so weak.
I want to know, do we think that I'm worse at video games or Shane is worse at video games?
I've never seen you play.
That's because you don't fuck around.
Because, like, I couldn't get past the first 5 minutes of Skyrim because I fell off the spiral staircase into the fire.
Okay.
Shane, Skyrim is a video game made by Bethesda in about 1988, and they've remade
Oh, man,
it
I was too
17
old.
times since.
Okay. Did they have the dragons in it?
Yes, it's actually a Game of Thrones spinoff.
Oh, okay.
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 All right. So,
George
do they
R. R.
have like
Martin did
a
it.
runway that they walk up and down and show off the new fall fashions, or
You're nailing it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
okay? All right.
Who
I'm
wants to
down.
be Skyrim's next top dragon?
I thought Skyrim was what I gave to that one girl the one time when she showed up drunk and just insisted.
Skyrim is actually when you get your butthole ate on an airplane.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
I
thought it.
but
I thought it was
expert
the
level.
inverted standing 69, is what I thought the Skyrim was.
Bring me the Betty Jesuit witch. We're going in an airplane.
What's in the box? Pain. Oh, okay, I'm ready. I will not fear. Fear's the mind killer. Fear's the small death that brings the great death.
I did.
I will face my fear. I will let the fear pass through me, and when it is gone, only I will. You done with Dune yet, John? Or
Yeah, I finished it.
you know what would taste really great on a sandworm? MSG.
MSG.
Oh god.
Madison Square Garden. Home
Baby.
of the New York
But
Knickerbockers.
what even is this podcast?
What even is this podcast?
What even-
That's
I've
the
wanted to
question.
know that for years.
Tell
In
me
case
why.
you ain't nothing but a mistake. For those who are blissfully ignorant and walking into this like a babe in the woods or Michael in a men's room,
Huh?
what we... What year is it?
Where
Back
am I?
now.
Did they
Why
allow
is
us
the
all...
toilet on the wall?
Why do we all use the same one? It's a lady breastfeeding in this one.
Mommy, come
we-
pick me up. I'm scared.
Oh, I'm picking up mommy.
Ooh.
Ooh,
Hey,
a
honey.
Shane Weiser.
Indeed. So what we usually do on this disgusting little podcast is we'll delve into a random esoteric topic, tasty though it may be. And in the course of explaining it to one another, we will leaven in the occasional lie just to keep things interesting. That is the shtick, that is the premise, and it is incumbent upon the co-hosts who are on the outside looking in to try to ferret out the lies, sort the fact from fiction, and therein, if it is feathered fiction, it's even more intriguing. But today's episode is going to be sweet, spicy, savory, and a little bit illegal, possibly harmful for you.
Brought to you by.
No ads today.
No ads? Nomads.
No
Nomads.
nomads.
No man.
Actually, I was hoping that you
Fats?
would help me get on my camel. It fucked a woman to death last week.
I don't understand.
Anyway,
So
Joe Camel. Can't control those urges. It's our new serial killer. Go for it, Courtney.
I just
Come on.
okay.
Pony up.
All right,
You can
let's-
do it.
You know what's so funny? I don't usually get nervous at all before we record or before I present anything, but today for some reason I finished writing this 5 minutes before I left to come over to John's to record because I think it's a topic that I am so passionate about that I can't put it on paper because it stresses me out. So this is if this is the equivalent of like a Michael Science episode, I'm really sorry and we can just delete this.
Well,
I doubt that will ever happen.
Courtney, if it makes you feel better, I'm sitting here in the all together, and I just spilled some aha down the front of myself, so I have
thought I
very
heard something.
sticky thighs right now.
Ooh.
So if that doesn't put you at ease, I don't know what will.
You know,
Sticky-
that's
your
all I
sticky
needed to hear.
thighs.
Let's go.
If your
Okay.
shirt was white,
Yeah,
I would
it'd be
even
better.
more sold.
I mean, I can show you my nipples if you're really that inclined.
He can go deeper
Now
if
this is
you
the
ask.
after dark.
Oh.
Ooh wee.
But yeah, no, I finished this about 30 minutes ago ish, and I really enjoyed researching this topic. I felt like I was in school again. I went to school for 4 years for culinary arts, so this very much falls into my realm of knowledge, which is why I got overexcited. And I also really love things that most people find controversial and then being like, actually, you're wrong, and here's 42 reasons why I like to be incendiary like that.
Okay, well, I'm against incest.
Oh.
Prove me wrong.
And I'm on the other side.
Name 5.
Incest, more like wincest.
Oh, no.
Hashtag winning.
It's the only fanfics I write.
We know.
Oh. But
Roll Tide.
one of the things I like to do in my free time is I actually read food anthropology books because I am a nerd. And one of the ones I've been reading recently is actually the Oxford Handbook of Food History and Anthropology, and it's fantastic if you want to read some journals about
For the
history.
Epicurean soul amongst you,
Exactly.
yes.
It's really great. And I realized too that this episode is going to continue to perpetuate this idea that I'm a Japanophile.
Is that the
Yeah.
actual
Nothing wrong with
scientific name
that.
for it?
Which is, I think it's just part of my personality in the sense of like anywhere that we've traveled becomes my new obsession, and I have to learn and embrace as much as I can about that culture, that cuisine, because it's just really interesting. So if you'd caught me right after Denmark or right after Lebanon, like that's what we'd be talking about. But most recently Japan, so that's what you're getting.
Monosodium glutamate.
Exactly. Well, and interestingly enough, we're actually going to focus a lot more on China than we are Japan, but we'll get to that.
I want a refund.
Are you afraid of China, John?
Aren't we all?
Oh.
I mean,
I'm not
he's
afraid of Winnie the Pooh.
Well, trigger warning, we're going to talk about China. So anyways, I have 7 lies today for you guys.
7
we're just
in
gonna
a
need.
row?
I think I counted them sort of. So
We're just gonna want another topic in a half an hour anyway.
yeah, I mean exactly. It's fine. And the other thing that I did with this, because I'm just gonna keep explaining it, is it is tangential to KFC. Because as Shane mentioned, we do know for a fact that KFC uses MSG in their chicken breading. And they're not alone in that. I pulled up a couple different fast food restaurant nutrition facts today.
Ooh.
And nearly all of the big guys who have recently put out chicken sandwiches for the chicken sandwich wars that's happening, all of them, MSG, across the board.
Is there enough material for you to do a future episode on the chicken sandwich wars?
Absolutely.
Fuck yes.
I could do that right now off the top of my head.
Can you do 4
Plot
episodes?
I don't want to do 4 episodes.
A New Hope.
That's too many.
Now, the KFC chicken wars and the Popeyes chicken wars, they are happening concurrently. So there will be a part 1 on KFC and a part 2 on Popeyes.
Oh.
I just want to get to episode 6, Return of the Shits.
They never left.
I don't understand people who say that when they like eat fast food and that like causes them like bowel disruption, because I'm like, are you really that weak?
So weak.
So weak.
Listen, my body, much like your body, has actively tried to destroy itself from the moment it popped into existence. So I'm, yes. I get diarrhea just from like a bad conversation.
Shane is
So
at such a
delicate.
point now where like he gets concerned when he has a normal bowel movement.
Yes. This
he's
show wrecks me for at least a week after we record every time. I just
So
started
every
having
week's a
solid
bad
shit
week?
this morning. Yeah, pretty much. Ooh.
He gets to see the eye of the storm once per week and then he goes back in.
It's the Buckeye of the storm, unfortunately. But
On the note of health, though, because I think I did mention it on the show last week, I got my biopsy results back and I don't have cancer, so that's pretty cool.
Congratulations. I'm
Yet.
glad.
I made it,
That is awesome.
and I have 1 more year left to live, so I'm pretty stoked on that.
Yes.
So anyways.
One more till 27.
That's right.
she'll get that joke when she listens back, and she'll be angry at me. But
What was the joke?
no, it's going to be in the editing. You'll get to hear it on the second pass. Michael got it, and I got the eyebrow raise, so that's par for the course for Shane.
Oof.
Oh, great.
So MSG is, as Shane said, monosodium glutamate is the chemical compound name for this. Wow. Brain
The king
fart.
of flavor.
Great. Yeah. So it's commonly found in a crystallized form. It was originally discovered in Ulsan, South Korea, by a scientist named Kim Namjoon. Around that same time, however, there was a scientist in Japan who was really fascinated with dashi, which is a stock made from a specific type of seaweed. Sometimes they'll use kelp as well. But it has this like really deep, like delicious flavor that like you crave. Like if you have a bowl of ramen, like that's going to be at the base of it. If you have any kind of like sauce, it's going to be in that kind of family of flavors. Like that depth comes from the seaweed. So he was just like obsessed with figuring out like what is it about the seaweed that gives it this flavor. So his name was Kikune Kikoman, and he ended up actually isolating that compound and turn it into a crystallized product.
And then later made soy sauce.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that of Pinka Man fame?
Yeah.
No, it was that bullshit.
Yeah,
was that his actual name?
That's not his name.
Yeah.
Good job.
Michael and I
you're
have been
listening.
around the
I'm
occasional food source here, obviously.
Yeah, I was like, oh, Kinka Man.
You're gonna get everything.
That's good soy.
You usually do.
But his name actually was Kikune, and he basically, once he realized that he could isolate the monosodium glutamate in the kelp and crystallize it, he was like, I'm gonna sell the shit out of this. Like this is what we're doing. And so the way that he did that is he actually took vegetables and fermented them and then broke them down to extract the monosodium glutamate, MSG. And it became a household product in Japan because what they realized they could do is they could take really nutritious but like less favorable foods and like zhuzh them up with like a tiny bit of MSG and like bam, like delicious, we can eat this. And it actually really helped, especially in like poor communities, because it was a cheap product to get and you could put it on, it was delicious. And
so roofing tile, you can just slap a little MSG on and it's palatable.
There's a scene in fucking Workaholics where someone loses a bet, so they go up and they punch a little bit of the ceiling tile off, and they're putting like soy sauce on and eating. They have to eat the whole slice.
Oh.
So I think it lends credence to the fact that
I guess.
As we have all encountered, other than John, the joyful Uncle Roger has described MSG as like being salt on crack. So,
would you say that's true?
I would say that's fairly accurate. I'll actually, the next time we're all together, I actually put some in the fried chicken I fed you, but I will.
Shocked.
I'll bring it over so you can try it. Actually, that was the first time that I've used it in fried chicken, just out of curiosity. And I didn't notice a huge difference, but if you taste it on its own, there's a certain coating it puts on your tongue that is so unique and interesting that like you can't get that anywhere else.
Huh.
Or can you?
I met a couple ladies that I would say,
okay.
I'll disagree
I would
patently.
say that Courtney's camp here is saying that I think she poisons all of us every time that we see her, and then within a certain range of time, she gives us the antidote sneakily. So if we ever stop being friends with Courtney, we will die.
Okay, so we're the animals on Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stop lifting my skirt up.
So Kikone basically, he actually coined the term umami, which we're all familiar with as the fifth taste.
Bullshit.
No.
What?
Oh.
Okay. Moving on. Anyways, so he coined the term umami, and that is a word that is derived from the Japanese word umai, which means savoriness.
Or your mama.
Mommy.
Mommy.
Oh, mama.
So he goes through this whole
Oh,
process.
mama.
He figures it out, and then in 1909, he basically starts mass producing it under the name of Ajinomoto, which means essence of taste, literally. And so he's selling this as a food additive, very similar to salt.
Is the name bullshit what it translates to? I feel like that's a little too on the nose.
No, it is literally essence of taste. That he was like, this is what it is, and this is what I'm selling it as.
Alrighty then.
Welcome to the Johnny Bravo Salt Company. I'm giving you the essence of taste, mama.
Oh,
mama. Ooh, mama. I think it's more umami. Oh, I'm sorry. Got a speech impediment here. Ooh, mommy. Gonna serve up that ramen super hot. There you go.
So weak.
It's Johnny Bobo, I think, is his.
That's my
Here's your.
favorite show.
I'm gonna give you some of that milk tea, mama.
What is happening?
I don't know.
Johnny Bravo was an old cartoon
I
show.
don't fuck-
Okay, let's take it a little deeper because Michael can't.
No one asked me to.
So we've laid the groundwork for where basically MSG came from.
Oh,
now-
I laid it.
Now I'm going to teach you about glutamic acid. Anybody familiar with glutamic acid?
Isn't that
No.
what they fill the vats with when the Yakuza kills people and they want to melt them down?
I thought it was what Pink Floyd used to take before they wrote The Wall.
Which one of us is more right?
No. So glutamic acid is also known as glutamate and is a naturally occurring compound made up of a salt and a non-essential amino acid. If you're not familiar with amino acids, the non-essential ones you don't need to eat because your body can synthesize those on their own.
Oh.
So glutamate is actually very important as far as, human function. Like, it does contribute to things that are important. It is
Okay.
naturally occurring in our bodies. One of the things that they say is a small contributor to is actually neurotransmitters in the brain that play a crucial role in memory and learning new things. I thought that was a really fun fact. Threw that in there.
So if I eat enough MSG, I'll remember.
Yeah, no, we
everything.
don't. As a non-medical professional, I do not recommend going out and just eating your body's weight in MSG, and we'll talk
What
about
about
why
colloidal
later.
silver?
Oh,
Well,
that's
it's in a
fine.
crystal, so you'd snort it.
If you put it in heavy water, it's fine.
Well,
Oh,
I don't
okay.
remember you telling me not to eat tons of it.
She specifically said not body weight, so if you eat half your body weight or less, I
Sure.
feel like that should be fine.
It'd still
All
kill
right,
me.
so you heard it here first. That's what Courtney 100% recommends with
It's
her.
the MSG diet.
Yep.
Just eat the crystals.
Yes, and her doctorate in palmistry has proven it to be so.
Let's start an MSG cult.
Oh, I'd be super into that. So,
Just
MSG unit.
Not bad.
speaking of daily consumption, though, the FDA does say that we eat about 13 grams of it naturally per day in our diets. Typically, it's going to be derived from protein, but there are some really foods that are very high in glutamic acid, and those are going to be like tomatoes, Parmesan cheese, mushrooms, onions.
Check.
Why only Parmesan cheese?
It has to do with the way that it's kind of cured. So even like cured meats, so like if you have like a
okay.
prosciutto or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to have a higher level of glutamate.
Huh.
And that's where you get that like savory, like craveability from it.
Prosciutto. Where my
I don't-
pig?
So I don't see how it occurs naturally in meats that are cured, but in order to produce it, you need fermented vegetables.
So tomatoes are actually the highest glutamic
Oh, okay.
produce. So
Fucking nightshade.
so you can take them and like if you ferment them down and you extract it, sometimes in production of MSG they'll also use like sugar beets. Sugar
Okay.
beets for some reason have a really high glutamate level and they're able to ferment those down. But usually it's kind of a combination, or kelp a lot of times is a derivative. Let me find my place.
In my place.
Now, if you had to
Oh, that's
guess as far as naturally occurring glutamic acid, what human liquid substance?
I was gonna say cum.
Oh,
Is it
I
in
mean,
cum?
when do you not?
no.
Oh,
I'm,
No, because then, no, never mind. I'm not going to.
say it.
No.
Say it.
It would make it taste good.
Yeah, then you would be a happier human being. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, I've never
I'm pretty
tasted
damn
my
happy.
cum, but I haven't had many complaints.
Oh.
Complaints?
Complaints.
I don't know why I set you up for this. I don't.
You had to.
Would you
No,
care
no.
to fill out
You
a
said it
comment
slowly.
card?
Sometimes I write this and
You
I'm
were-
like, it would be funny to set them up for
You were
something
walking-
funny, and then I'm upset that I did that.
You were walking down the aisle with
Oh,
your
I,
cart.
I
to
knew
soup.
exactly what I was doing. I just regret it now.
You're walking down the aisle with your cart and both of your teeth and just thinking you're going to use the restroom without getting told to fuck off.
Never did give her that soda though.
I was really hoping that John would actually get this because of his obsession with sloppers.
Oh.
Human breast milk has 10 times the amount of glutamate than, like, if you compared it to cow's milk.
That's why I'm so obsessed with breasts.
Yes.
That's the
Actually,
reason.
one of the
It's the
things
Cody
that
mouthfeel.
they talk about when you read about MSG and glutamate is that because of the high levels that you ingest as an infant.
It's that tasty umami flavor.
Yes,
It's
it
that
is-
craveability I keep
exactly.
coming back for.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That actually, okay, I could see that. Yeah. Okay.
It's also in
So-
Doritos, like a lot in Doritos.
So
if,
what
like,
you're
your
saying-
diet-
Breast milk is in Doritos? Oh my
It's
god.
that's the nacho cheese,
That's
my
it.
friend.
That's where it comes from.
That's not my cheese.
No, you don't have breasts. They are just bags of MSG, Michael.
So,
I know it's really weird that Shane is still on my teat. He is 100 months old.
100 years old, I'll still be on that thing.
yeah, he's like breast in one hand, bag of Doritos in the other, like
They're interchangeable,
What's the
really.
difference?
killing it.
Oh, no one would draw a picture of that. No one would do that. You wouldn't. Jessica wouldn't do that.
I don't think
she totally would.
Steven would either.
You almost made Shane spit out.
That's a future Squid Ink original right there.
The game is afoot.
So
No, the game is a tit, actually.
I feel like this is really going to stick, and you've really learned a lot about glutamic
Sure did.
acids. At this point, I think we can move on.
Well, something's gonna stick, but
And sticky thighs.
So basically, now I have learned you about MSG, so that's the monosodium glutamate, and also glutamic acid. They are.
Can I call bullshit on the breast milk before you get too far afield here?
It's a fact.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to take one stab before I pass
It's
out.
a good guess. It's part of the reason it's in my presentation today.
Okay.
So basically, these are two separate compounds. The only difference is a handful of sodium. That is the only difference between what is naturally occurring in our bodies versus when we eat MSG.
Handful of sodium and a pocket full of dreams.
Exactly. So at this point, would you not imagine that you could just eat this without having any, like, repercussions?
I usually just eat things with careless abandon anyway.
You said we ingest about 13 grams naturally through our diet.
It's
I
almost
can
what the
imagine
soul
that.
weighs.
Maybe that is the soul.
It's 21 grams, but I mean,
yeah.
it's close. The Curlians photographed it, John, in case you were not aware.
Mm-hmm.
I learned from Dan Aykroyd.
But
I lost my
I'm
train of thought.
curious about
Continue.
your own, like, preconceptions of MSG as we continue into this.
I mean, we have been commonly told that it should not be included in food for ages now. I feel like that's an FDA thing. And it's supposed to be like a cancer-causing agent, I think, is the most common misconception that I have heard.
Okay.
For me.
Yeah, my answer basically was the same. I up until recently, I would just eat anything. I didn't really care.
Did we put anything in your
That's
mouth?
why we're
I
friends,
would.
John.
Yeah, I dogs in the bathtub.
By the way, that's also what the original View Askew card said when Kevin Smith started making cards. It said, "We'll put anything in our mouths, and we make movies."
Yeah, so I guess I'm pro MSG based on what I've heard.
Cool.
Or-
I'm going to make a prediction that it is actually closer in terms of how society views it as like
Dog cum.
high fructose corn syrup, where there's a lot of misconceptions about it, and it's actually not that bad, but because it's been spread through the grapevine and like rumored about for a long time, it's...
Not to derail here, Michael. Are you trying to say that there's a rumor that high fructose corn syrup is good for you?
No, it's just that it's not as bad as people make it out to believe.
Did you watch the King Corn documentary, Michael?
He makes an interesting
no.
comparison. I would say that because high fructose corn syrup is still a sugar derivative, it gets villainized just simply on that fact.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't understand the processing of high fructose corn syrup versus any other sugar you consume. Your body doesn't really know the difference. So a lot of people will tell you, like, honey is a healthy alternative to sugar. That's just bullshit, because your body processes sugar the same way. Then you get into all the weird, like, diet sugars and, like, sugar
that aren't
substitutes
really
that
sugars.
trick your body and they do really weird things, but that's a conversation for
nor there.
another time.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the argument against corn, Michael, is supposed to be that your body can't assimilate it. And so then to put it in something that you cannot purge out of your system naturally, like the high fructose corn syrup, it is permanently with you at that point afterwards. That is the point that they try to make as to why it's a negative.
Oh. Okay. I'm here on one hand hearing, oh, it's a sugar substitute, and the other, it can't be purged, so it's stuck in your system. So I was not aware of that.
It's almost like we're just useless bags of meat.
Pretty much.
Well,
Like,
shit, yeah, I
Nothing
guess.
matters and everything hurts.
Right, nothing matters.
It's exhausting being a nihilist.
True.
Bring on the sweet release of death, please.
And me.
So what seems to be happening in most of our episodes these days is we take like a hard left into racism. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that now.
Woo!
All right.
So let's go.
On Pride Month, nonetheless.
What the fuck? What the
Wait, John, were you about to confide something with us in the audience?
No.
Was that your segue?
No.
No, John's more inclined to come in than come out.
Okay.
I have no code of ethics.
Sorry.
Do I need
You
to
said-
say a big word
Okay.
so we can hard left into racism
no,
or what?
No, here we go.
So-
I thought it was funny because you mentioned racism and then John had to mention Pride Month, insinuating that sexuality is a race.
Wait, it's
and
not?
that's why I was.
That's the joke, kid.
I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
that
sit
is
here
that
and
is
let
why it
you
was
make
funny.
A joke of that, Michael.
So as aforementioned, the popularity of MSG kind of spread throughout Japan, and then it was kind of widely more recognized across Asia as a whole. So obviously Korea, China, Vietnam, like they all were like, oh, this is really cool. Like we can use this. And especially in America, I feel like MSG is synonymous with Chinese food specifically. And you're going to find out why.
Ooh.
But the way that MSG was actually introduced to the American diet was actually after World War II, because what the military had been doing was like, oh, we're going to feed you cardboard anyway. Like, we could try to make it taste good. So they had already started implementing MSG into their diet. And so when World War II ended and they came back, it became kind of just a regular practice. And this was around the same time that frozen foods were becoming more popular. TV dinners were like a modern miracle. Canned food was a big deal. And MSG was a really cheap, easy way to make those foods taste good. But a lot of people still associate it with Chinese food, even though it was in your diet long before. And you probably consume more MSG through other foods than you do from Chinese food. So basically, food revolution is happening. We got microwaves, we got TV dinners. Fucking rad. Everybody's watching TV and eating food. It's great. But that was short-lived because after one single letter was sent in to the New England Journal of Medicine, a doctor by the name of Robert Holman Kwok complained of strange symptoms that he had experienced after eating Chinese food.
Was his last name really Guac?
Yes. Kwok.
Oh, wow.
Bless you.
Okay. My bad. I heard guac like guacamole.
So did I.
It's like, it's big guacamole the whole time.
Oh, Professor
Saying
Guac.
is, the doctor's a quack.
And a fraud.
And a frog. So he writes this letter and he basically says, after I eat Chinese food, I experience this set of symptoms every single time. That includes dizziness, sluggishness, a headache, a stomach ache, maybe a little bit of racism. But he's having these symptoms every single time he eats Chinese food. So he writes this letter, sends
I'm
it
sorry. It just I heard that when you put that in there, it's like he experiences racism because of the food.
Takes a bite. I'm suddenly more racist.
off. Yes, exactly.
Okay,
Chicken
all right.
sandwich.
You're,
I
yeah,
hate the Irish.
You're catching on.
Man, Taco Bell must do weird things to me then.
Yeah. So, naturally, as soon as they publish this in the journal, other people start writing in and they're like, oh, yeah, like, I think this happens to me too. And it was never really fact checked. It just became something that people widely believed. And it was then published under the name of Chinese restaurant syndrome.
Oh, please tell me that that's a lie.
No.
Oh.
So this, what was considered a very prestigious medical journal, is now publishing letters, some from doctors, some from not, about these symptoms that they're having. So of course this sparked national outcry of, oh my God, is MSG killing us? We need to do more research because, you know, white people freaking love research. And so
almost 100 episodes of proofs on this part. So.
Are you not white then?
Me?
Yeah.
You've seen me.
You don't love research
You know me.
two tab, John.
I have 14 tabs today.
Oh shit!
A lot of porn.
Yeah.
It's like
Oh.
a haze.
If it's acid, yeah.
So naturally, lots of scientists were like, I can figure this out. I got this. Lots of tests were performed, a lot of double-blind tests where, you know, both parties did not know what they were ingesting to see what the outcome was. I think John and Shane were probably volunteers in this. I feel like that's right up their alley.
I prefer quadruple blind.
You know, I think about my ideal work situation, you know, when you're having daydreams and you're having a bad day at work. And I think one of my dream jobs would be something that's not customer facing, like that, where it's like, your job is for 10 hours a day. You're going to just eat chicken nuggets.
And we're going to see how you feel.
We're going to monitor how you feel. And when you have to puke, you can go puke. When you have to shit, you can go shit. You just can't sleep. For 10 hours, all you're doing is eating chicken nuggets. And I would do that instead of deal with customers most times.
I mean,
Right.
same, but I don't know if that's my dream
grew
job.
like a second arm on your left side, you'd be like, yeah, this is what I want to do for work.
It's just one more arm for eating chicken nuggets.
I was going to say, he's been begging for the Quado experience for
All right,
years
well.
now.
I'm going to look like a Cronenberg Morty. That's my goal.
Great. I'm
John
happy
actually
for you.
assimilated a twin in the womb, so he's actually got a face in his chest right now. So if he gets the, you know, other opposable limbs, he's going to be even happier.
I would.
So I tried to not include a lot of the studies in this because, like I said, I didn't want to do a full Michael. But if you want them, I can send them to you. Very interested in this topic. But essentially what started happening was there was kind of two camps. There was pro-MSG, anti-MSG, which is not really great for objective science. So you had kind of the pro-MSG people were like, yeah, every time we replicate your anti-MSG stuff, like, it doesn't work. So one of the studies that I read about specifically was like, oh, we found brain lesions in humans if they ate too much MSG. And people have tried to replicate their study over and over, and they cannot. And so that has really helped kind of fuel the debate of, is it safe or is it not safe? Based on my readings today, the FDA says they have no reason to believe that there is anything wrong with MSG, and most of it has been spread by the anti-MSG camp, which is really, really interesting because a lot of people don't know that or don't think that.
And that
So
is
you're
not...
saying that my prediction was correct?
In some sense, yes. I think high
Don't
fructose
feed
corn
him.
syrup is a different topic.
Oh, yes, yeah. I wasn't saying that they were comparable. I was more saying public misconceptions
sure,
of that.
and I think that
Yes,
happens
yeah,
a lot in the food industry.
He's seeking validation. Don't give it to him.
He's also
Validate me.
It's the one time that he gets to a little pat on the head.
He's still coming down from his hashish episode, so he's got conspiracies
Blaze it.
just falling out of his
man.
ass
Not
now.
to derail at all, but have you dabbled with more marijuana?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Well, we'll follow up on that later. I just wanted to check.
I mean, yes, I have had a couple of gummies since then, but I limit myself to once per.
Did you shit yourself after eating the gummies?
No.
You ever had your ass licked by a fat man in an overcoat?
Yes.
Not an overcoat. Do overalls count?
What?
Just overalls.
Roll Tide.
Anyway.
So I will say one study did try to link, this is a study that was performed in 2011. They tried to link MSG to obesity. But if you look at what snacks have freaking MSG added, you might find a different correlation. That ended up being somewhat credible, but a lot of it had to do with other ingredients that were found in the food. Because if you're eating something that's high fat, high sugar with MSG, there's a lot of different culprits to look at. So again, we're iffy on that.
Yeah, if you take a speedball, you got to figure out which side killed you, right?
I don't. How is this like legitimate, like publishable science if they're not actively trying to remove these extra variables?
So
Like,
You're asking the right question.
you will be happy to know that there was one study that I looked at that had bad outcomes. That was basically, they were giving them a bunch of MSG on an empty stomach, and that would cause temporary side effects, and it only was in a small population of the people that they studied.
Well, how much were they giving them? Like, are we talking about like a couple of grams of acid for an elephant, or a couple of 100 milligrams?
Oh, man, I
Because
forgot
like,
all about
You leave
that.
Tusco out of this, god damn it.
like, of course, it will cause side effects if you give them way more than what they would typically ingest in a given day.
Also, if you
course.
shoot it with a gun, you know, it tends to
That too.
change the delivery device.
Shotgun sandwich?
Just shoot the MSG in my mouth.
Don't mind if I do. If it's breast milk, sign me up.
Ooh.
Oh, breast milk cannons.
But as you can see, this is why there's a lot of confusion around, is it safe? Is it not safe?
Is it secret?
Hmm.
Is it safe?
So
Maybe it's Maybelline.
So while they're doing all these studies, and like I said again, the FDA totally approves this, the word umami is also gaining popularity, but it is not stigmatized the way that MSG is, even though it is the same thing.
So I know we're infantile as that John and I hear umami and we're both back cracking up again.
Oh, mommy.
Oh, mommy.
It's going to fuck up my whole life from here on out.
Wait, so is that how they measure how much like that sort of flavor profile is just the amount of MSG is in it, or is it more broad than that?
It's
More general.
slightly more broad than that in the sense that, like, we talked about glutamic acid. And so
Mhm.
because our bodies naturally produce that and that's naturally occurring in things, it's kind of like are you having this with or without salt? So either way, you're getting that umami flavor. Like, if you think about, like, if you have a bowl of pasta and you put a shit ton of Parmesan cheese on top, like, that craveability that makes your mouth water, like, that's the glutamic acid.
And also, it's one of those things that hardwires your brain, because they've talked about salt is actually harder to kick than heroin
Mm-hmm.
because your body naturally wants it. It's something that it produces regularly on its own.
Yeah, my body's a dirty little girl.
So it will then, once it starts getting overindulged, it's going to want more of it.
Exactly.
So what
Those
you're
pleasure
describing-
sensors are
Oh.
loving it.
So what you're describing is like when I wake up and I'm like, fuck, I just want pepperoni pizza so bad.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking about that, like, first bite of pepperoni pizza. That's MSG holding me by my stomach.
More or less, like, yeah, there's a lot of different chemical compounds that your body naturally craves, and it needs, like I mentioned before, it's a non-essential amino acid, so if you don't have enough of it, it's something your body can produce on its own, but that doesn't change the craveability factor of it.
What's crazy is, like, I go through spells of caring about what I eat, like, actually, like, wanting to track it and, like, you know, try and be a adjusted human being, and then I go through phases where I just Taco Bell dumpster it, and I'm in a phase right now where I've, like, and Becky is an amazing cook, and she cooks all of our meals. I'm not gonna say most, that'd be insulting. She cooks all of our meals, and I think the other night I was like, yo, I really want a pizza, and she goes, yeah, anytime you tell me you want to start eating cleaner, and we do, within like a week or 2 weeks, like, you're the first one to cave, always. You are always the one, like, you immediately start craving junk the moment it's removed. Like, So there's a lot of big facts here today.
True.
Well, you might consider even adding more fermented foods into your diet. So even just like sneaking miso paste into like sauces or like soy sauce or anything with that high level of like the tomato sauce on pizza and the cheese combination. That's probably what's getting you. So you can actually adjust those things in your diet, and that actually might help you with those cravings.
Or you can just start, dating a breastfeeding mother.
You can buy breast milk online, but that's a different a different episode.
How am I supposed to enjoy this slice of pepperoni pizza
Stop!
without
I
my
can only
drink?
get so erect.
It's funny though, on the subject of pizza, like my dad, when I was around like 14 or 15, took my brother and I out for a slice, and he insisted we order pizza with anchovies. And he's like, you're going to hate this the first time you try it. Okay. Because the first time I had it, I hated it. And he's like, in 2 days, I guarantee you're going to want this again. And it wills out. First time I had anchovy pizza, I absolutely despised it. And then my body started going, hey, you like this. And now I'm going back into this like, well, of course, my dad puts salt on ice. And then just sits and frickin' sucks it off.
Is that a real story?
Yes. That's a for real thing.
Wow.
Because my dad, he tends to get dehydrated a lot. He's had heat stroke multiple times. And so he starts like trying to refortify his body. So if he feels dehydrated, he'll just come in and just drink salt water, basically. Yeah, it's alarming that he's still kicking. But I was
miracle.
like, but he was right. It's just he didn't understand the rationale that the body's hardwired to crave salt. So when you just put this briny, greasy little mackerel on top of a pizza and say you're probably going to crave it in a couple days, yeah, if you try heroin a couple times, it's probably going to catch you too. Still like anchovy pizza though.
Still do.
Have
I've
any
never
of
tried
And
it.
yet you won't touch a pineapple pizza.
Listen, we've talked about my kinks. I sweet and
Fair.
savory do not meet where I'm around. It's the same thing as like, I'll go down on you, but I won't let you shit in my mouth. Like that's
You don't know what.
Now I
you're
gotta ask,
missing.
which one is the shit? Is it sweet or sour?
it's definitely sweet.
Got it.
If you date someone with diabetes, everything's sweet. Now, I had a roommate with diabetes, and if he had too much sugar in his system, he would call it his sugar piss, because he said it smelled like sugar pops. And the sad thing is that now, over the course of years since he and I, spent time together, now you will occasionally notice I've had way too much in your system because I'm like, sugar piss. What's happened here?
This has taken such a beautiful turn.
Oh, God.
I'm embracing the fact that we're just going to go on tangents for the rest of our lives. We're never going to stay on target. So
Gone in sugar piss seconds.
But I would challenge you, if you are a regular consumer of watermelon, if you get one that's not super sweet, you might be tempted to sprinkle sugar on it. Try salt next time.
Huh.
I've actually only ever
Okay.
done that.
Yeah?
I've never done sugar on watermelon.
All right. Well, there you go. So I'm going to take us back to that letter from Robert Homan Kwok. Because here's the thing about that letter.
It didn't exist.
So, 2 white doctors walk into a bar. No.
Oh no.
ow.
Two white male doctors decided it would be really funny to make a bet of $10 that the orthopedic surgeon was too stupid to get published in the New England Journal of Medicine. So he wrote a letter. You want to guess what letter that was?
Wow.
And he thought that it was written so poorly and it sounded so fake that it would not get published. This was this big joke between them. So when it got published, they thought it was the funniest thing to happen. And so he got his $10 and they kind of thought nothing of it. Well, of course, they follow this publication, so they would soon see the outpour of letters coming in of the same thing. And they thought, no, like this, there's no way. And their inspiration for the letter, funnily enough, is that after they would go have lunch frequently at a Chinese restaurant near their hospital, and they would sometimes eat too much. I am not going to say if they drank a lot between, shifts, but it was mentioned in the article that I read And so these symptoms that they put in the letter are very common to symptoms you would have if you overate and were drunk. And that was kind of their premise,
Wow.
is that was kind of the hoax type letter that they were trying to write. And so basically over the last, I want to say one of the doctors is still living. I'll link the article because it's pretty detailed, because basically what happens is somebody at a university got really interested in MSG and then found out that one of her like former colleagues was the doctor that wrote the letter. And so it's a whole article about like how that all came to light, and it's super interesting, but I'm just giving you the Cliff Notes version. Very long article. So basically, yeah, they sat back and watched what they did and were like, oh shit. And they had tried to have it retracted. And the journal was like, no, we've had too much like evidence that other people are experiencing it. So
Wow.
that's how that came to be. Fun fact.
Oh my goodness.
The writer herself of that article specifically, so she is, I want to say it was Vietnamese American, but she's Asian American, and she specifically said, she's like, I don't think that Chinese restaurant syndrome came out of racism necessarily, but the issue is all of the letters and all of these things that were being published were based on Asian stereotypes. And it was all being like, Chinese food is dirty. We hear that even now. There are restaurants being opened in New York that is clean Chinese food because of this stereotype and because of the hatred towards Chinese Americans.
Huh? Wait, I was not aware of. I didn't know that that was happening.
Really? You don't know about clean Chinese food? Oh, it's very controversial.
No.
I was gonna say, you don't know about racism?
Well, I
Well, you see, Michael
But-
doesn't see.
so I don't. Ugh. Anyway, what classifies as clean or dirty?
That's exactly
like,
the point.
is it?
Well,
Yes, but I want to at least hear what the rationale, air quotes, is behind
There's
that.
no like sensitive way to word this. Is that kind
no,
of where the
there-
hate for like oh, did you use a cat in this food?
that is
Yeah.
very much a stereotype of Chinese
Did you
restaurants.
cut
Yeah.
corners and buy cat meat instead of
Saying that it's greasy, saying that it's salty, those types of things. A lot of people don't understand, too, that American Chinese food was adapted to American tastes.
Oh
They
yeah.
were like, you like salty and greasy, we can do that. But also, like, if you order from our menu what, other people would order normally in China, or even still, like, different dishes that have been adapted, that's not the food. It's lots of generalizations that are made that don't really represent the characteristics of their cuisine, if
Right.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like watching a table of people get like a bowl of sticky rice, and the second that hits their plate, they just start salting it aggressively.
Exactly.
And you're like,
Or dumping soy
"Oh."
sauce all over
That
it, and you're
hurts
like,
me.
what?
What are you even doing?
And I know that we're speaking of China, but like when you went to Japan,
Yeah.
is it the same? Is it the same over there? Because a lot of Americanized ideas find their way over into Japan, from what I understand.
Mhm.
So, is the food more akin to what you're describing, where it's like what it's intended to be, or is it more Americanized and like overly salty
Oh.
in Japan, like when you went?
Okay, I think I understand what you're getting.
I
at,
think
John.
they're probably more attached to our pop culture than they are to our tastes.
I guess that's exactly what I'm asking.
That is actually a really interesting question, because they have really adapted our fast food culture,
Mhm.
as we
Yeah,
talked about.
yeah.
And we ate at McDonald's, and we ate at one other fast food restaurant. I don't remember. Their fast food was so much better. Like, they had
Really?
Oh
they
yeah,
had a chicken
yes.
teriyaki sandwich at McDonald's that I like
What?
think about all the
Mhm.
time.
Wow.
It's the funniest thing to watch, like, American fast food pass through a filter into
Uh-huh.
other cultures and watch it get sort of transmogrified into what their food items and preferences generally are. Because, I mean, there was the whole, like, the Stroop Waffle McFlurry thing
Uh-huh.
from a couple of years back that they imported from elsewhere, where you was like,
Man.
oh, naturally. I mean, in this culture, this is a very delicious food, but most people had never encountered a Stroop Waffle
Mhm.
before in America, because it's just, we're not pioneers of the palate in that way.
Well, and you bring
So-
up like a great segue into the fact that right now McDonald's is running a promotion for the BTS meal that has 2 sauces that they imported from Korea. Like,
Mhm.
it's very interesting seeing our stuff go there. They do it better. They send it back to us, and we're like, what?
It's almost like America is like not that great.
Yeah, I don't know.
Huh.
It's-
You telling me I can have a matcha Kit Kat?
Yeah, like, what?
I sincerely I feel like I just had the moment of epiphany where every single person that I know in my life that has had the pleasure of going to Japan has nothing but amazing things to say
Oh, you
upon
gotta
return.
go. It's amazing.
And I have never been out of country, and
no.
I'm my first out of country trip will be next year. I'm gonna go to Scotland.
So cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But now, just after having these conversations and hearing about that chicken teriyaki sandwich, I really want to go to Japan for some cherry blossoms and chicken teriyaki.
Hell yeah.
I think we've missed the point here, though. Let's not get away from the fact that you're just over here flexing your wife privilege again.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
no,
I'm
I'm-
going to
she thinks
Scotland.
She thinks we're going to England. She'll be in England, like London. I'll be in Scotland. So
I see.
I win. No,
I
she'll
agree.
be on the trip.
Will you
I'm
be
gonna give her
wearing
the
a
old slip
kilt,
though.
or
Don't worry. I'm gonna see
Uh,
one fair.
is that another
skin-
sexual euphemism?
I'm
Or
gonna see one Irish woman. Just one lovely.
in
lovely
Scotland?
Irish woman. On the way. I don't know.
Will you
I don't know
eat
anything
Haggis
about the
while
way.
Yeah,
you're
you drive through Ireland to get to Scotland.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's.
That body of water is real easily navigable with an automobile, I find. But
I'll report back.
Michael probably thinks that Northern Ireland is just the north part of Ireland, and I'm really upset now.
yeah,
No,
well, yeah.
I know that it's not the northernmost part of Ireland. I know that
It's where
more
the
to
bombs are
east.
made.
That's a fact. I have driven past that hotel.
Ooh, nice.
But this is also back onto the original point, though. Why, like Melissa and I shop at World Market almost exclusively now. It just we live there because the potato chip flavors,
Oh my god.
like the Coe's Irish potato chips. Oh my dear gentle Jesus. But so yeah, I'm not sure if anybody else here, other than obviously Courtney from the affirmation there. If you've not been to World Market, go dabble around in there for some fun times in the food area.
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely. And we are really fortunate, especially in the East Valley. I think there's also a couple outlets in the West Valley as well, but there's a lot of really neat Asian and international markets.
yeah. There's
Yeah.
H Mart just opened. We have Mekong Plaza. You
There's
can
a
go
good
to
Indian
Lily's.
market too, right?
Yep, there's
Yeah.
an Indian market. I don't know the name of it. But there's so many things out there that y'all need to try because it's just fun. But to answer John's original question that got us on this tangent,
Yeah.
Japanese food in America is like really watered down.
Oh, it's
And-
the same for most genres of foods. I mean,
Right.
like look at Mexican food.
Oh my
like
God.
Tex-Mex
Ugh.
is its whole separate category.
Ugh, let's not.
No, it's just adding to
Oh
what you're
yeah,
saying.
absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
so one of the things that we try to do is we constantly are trying any new ramen shop that pops up because it is something that we really enjoyed before we went, and then we ate just phenomenal ramen that these people spend dozens of hours making, and then you come back here and you're like, you're trying really hard, and I appreciate that, and I understand the work that goes into it, but it doesn't hit the same.
The effort is appreciated.
Oh,
but could you not?
absolutely. Well, no, I think they should, and I think it's really cool to see. We actually are seeing in Arizona specifically a lot of ramen restaurants being opened by people from Japan or people who have gone over there and worked there or were born there, and they're coming here and they want to open these restaurants, which is really amazing, but they haven't quite mastered it the same way.
So what you're saying is it's hard to go back to the farm once you've seen Tokyo.
I don't understand.
Is that a partial callback?
No, it's you. How do you keep her on the farm once they've seen Paris?
I don't get the
Okay,
reference.
apparently
All right,
that's an
press
antiquated
F.
phrase.
Lost.
Press F for respects,
Uh.
guys.
F you.
But yeah, anyways, the food there is phenomenal. I would not discredit the chefs in Arizona or even in the U.S. who are trying, because they are putting in a very valiant effort, and I appreciate that effort as someone who has made homemade ramen and spent 3 days making a bowl of ramen. Like, it's hard, and like mastering that flavor, like, kudos to you.
But they're trying.
They're trying. They're what's
trying.
important. Like, you gotta try to succeed, you know?
Sending the bowl back. Thanks for showing up today.
But basically, like we were talking about before, the idea of their food being dirty, greasy, that also is in part due to the Chinese Exclusion Act. We were not accepting them to come and live in our country. We saw them as less than us. But then we were like, oh, build our railroads, please. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Like, and that's kind of our history with Chinese people who have immigrated here. And I can't speak on their behalf or their experience, but based on what I've read, like, I would have probably just been like, well, fuck you guys. Like, what are you doing here? Like, we are integral to the, industrial era of your country.
Yeah.
Like, get your shit together. And that's a whole nother topic, and their history is really complex and unique, but wonderful. Like, Chinese culture is just fantastic.
It's another thing that got thrown in the thresher or the tumble dryer of American exploitation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect way to word that.
He does turn a phrase from time to time.
It's like he knows some words.
I
was
heard a couple.
homeschooled. I don't know any words. And I'm a woman, so fuck it.
I tried to be homeschooled. I kept writing my own notes, and they wouldn't let me go.
So basically that kind of takes us into modern day. Now that we have kind of an established history of, what the stigma is, MSG is actually like becoming this really popular thing. I have had beers at local bottle shops that have MSG in them, and it didn't add a whole lot, not really, but it does help kind of raise awareness that, hey, this is just another food additive. It's okay.
Right.
And if you watch any chefs on YouTube, it is in almost every single video featured these days.
We're going to talk about my favorite, David Chang, because he is the biggest proponent of MSG. Are you guys familiar with David Chang?
I am not.
No, but I was going to say, if you think he's, Uncle Roger's vying for the title, though. Josh Weissman sings songs about it, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, everybody's going crazy for it.
David Chang is the chef owner of the first restaurant he opened was called Momofuku, and they have his whole brand is called Lucky Peach, and they have restaurants in Vegas and LA, and they're also partnered, if you've heard of Milk Bar, that does the desserts. Christina Tosi, she was on one of the food shows for a long time as a judge with Gordon Ramsay. But they're all tangentially like related, and he has done, I want to say he's even done like a TED Talk about like MSG is not evil, and here is why.
Huh.
And his company actually, I want to say it was in the last year, released a line of seasoning salts, and one of them was inspired by MSG, but it did not contain the crystallized version of MSG. What they did was they took dried mushrooms and dried seaweed and came up with a powder that replicated those flavor compounds and sold it like you can buy it online. Like, it's super cool. And one of the reasons that he talks about MSG so much, of course, is racial stigma and, the whole like xenophobia side of it, but also because there's just a big misconception still about what actually is in the food you're eating. And he actually has a really great video of he is in a room full of people and he offers them Doritos. And they take the bag and start eating them. If you look up a label for Doritos, monosodium glutamate is like the third ingredient. Like, it is up there. And then he asks them, do any of you have an MSG sensitivity? And people are like, oh yeah, like I do. Really? Huh. Okay, well, flip the bag over. Like, let's read the ingredients. And so that kind of like the social aspect of it to me is what's really interesting, and just this general misunderstanding, because if you eat tomatoes, if you eat mushrooms, if you eat Parmesan, like we've talked about, you're not allergic. I read another article that cited an allergist who was just like, no, this is just like wacky and weird and made up, but I don't understand where they came up with this.
Stop asking me that
You're
question.
not allergic. We don't test for that here. Get out of here.
This is a Wendy's.
We do have MSG.
They definitely do. One of the things that's really interesting though about MSG, especially in kind of the culinary world, is a lot of chefs don't use it. Because there's kind of this sense of like it's a shortcut. And so like kind of what the products that David Chang released, they want to find out how to replicate that naturally with other ingredients and kind of further cuisine, which is really interesting. But I think as home cooks, it should definitely be used more. I think there is a new level to be achieved, whether you want to do it through really expensive products that you can buy online or the $3 bag that I bought, at my local Asian grocery store. Like, it's really amazing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, like I fed it to you last week, so clearly we have proven it's very safe for consumption.
Well, I've been peeing out of my butt ever since.
It sounds like you and Shane have similar
He's doing
issues.
so right now.
We pee out of each other's butts.
Exactly.
We pee into each other's butts, actually. We don't do it right.
But basically, that's kind of where I'm going to end it for now, because there's a lot more that could be said. But I really hope that after this, like anybody listening will kind of defend MSG the same way we all defend that McDonald's coffee lawsuit lady now, where it was like, we got all the facts and it was like, oh my God, like,
Shane,
yeah, she deserved to have her medical bills paid. Like, what? Why are you making that face, Shane? Do you not know?
Listen, I live in obscurity and I die in despair, and so...
Do you want to give him the 30-second
Yeah,
pitch?
the Cliff Notes. An elderly woman drives through McDonald's and gets a cup of coffee.
Like you do.
She spills it on her lap, gets third-degree burns.
Okay, yeah.
She then is like, hey, McDonald's, like, look at these pictures. Look at all these hospital records. I was hospitalized because of the burns of this coffee and the temperature you served it to me at. And McDonald's is like, so?
It's coffee. It's hot.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But what they were doing is they were serving it at near boiling temperatures. And there was no warnings, nothing like that. And she was like super sweet about it. She was like, can you just pay my medical bills? That's it. I don't want a lawsuit. I don't want to go through it. Can you just please pay my medical bills? Because she had like in her crotch area, horrible, horrible burns. Like, oh, it's nasty. Don't look it up.
All right. So I'm semi-familiar with it. I just don't think I know what the fallout is for the after effects.
Exactly. So basically she does that. She's like, pay my medical bills. They're like, no. She's like, well, I guess I'm going to lawyer up then, because I'm going to go bankrupt with these bills, and this is your fault. And so they actually ended up, I think they settled, it was a substantial number. Like she was set after that, and her medical bills were paid. And it actually, I think, resulted in they now have to label caution it's hot.
Yes, the contents may be hot, yeah.
And they also had to dial back their coffee machines, because what they were doing was they were brewing huge batches and keeping it scalding hot, and that is what resulted in her injuries.
I actually remember getting coffee that was that way, where it was like, I cannot fathom drinking this for at least an hour.
That's why I don't drink hot coffee.
Well, we
I'm
just
iced
can't
all the way.
be so smart like you.
No, it's not smart. It's just as a preference.
Preservation.
I'm boiling my insides just by, functioning and thriving in this life. I don't need to make it any worse.
Well, I think we literally caught, one lie?
Yeah.
If that.
And then I accidentally, slipped up and, gave away one of my lies. So that was kind of lame.
Wow.
Well, please.
I got too excited. All right, so the lie that you did get was Kikkoman. Clearly that is a soy sauce brand. That was not his actual last name. I told you at the beginning of the story that it was originally discovered in Korea by Kim Namjoon. It's not from Korea, and he's the lead rapper from BTS. So, yeah, you missed those two.
Nice.
I didn't think those would land, but I thought that was fun for me. So
it's okay. For as many Ghostbusters references as I've beaten these poor gentlemen about the head with, I think we can all afford it.
I still haven't rewatched them.
It's taste is subjective. I haven't listened to BTS, so.
Oh man, you're missing out. So good.
I would argue to the contrary, but
I think I could sway you. But anyways, I told you that umami means savoriness. It means deliciousness.
Oh, mommy.
Literally.
Oh, mommy.
Oh, mommy. That's not my mommy.
That was kind of a cheap shot.
Oh, because
What?
savory is already one of the other taste buds, right?
Is it?
Well, salty.
Is it?
Name all five,
Salty,
Michael.
Name 5.
sweet, sour, salty, and then I thought it was savory.
Sweet, salty, sour,
Sweet.
bitter, umami.
Bitter.
Yo, mommy.
Acidic, yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, obviously you're not an alcoholic.
Well, no, then so I thought that it was savory. I've heard or have been told at some point that unami is more of a savory nature. So that's why
but
I was.
it translates to deliciousness.
Oh,
I told you that onions were high in glutamic acid. They're not.
I'm high in glutamic acid.
Sure.
I am glutamic acid.
Prove it.
They fall into the allium family,
5.
and I don't believe that they are known for their content of
Anything.
glutamic
Allie?
acid.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other lie that was going to be in there was that there were multiple people writing letters initially to the New England Journal.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was just like, oh, they wrote this one letter, and I kind of just
Oh,
glazed over that because I got
gotcha.
excited. So, yeah, those were my lies.
All right. It's always really refreshing to me to hear someone talk about something I know like literally nothing about and that they're also very well educated and passionate on.
That was kind of the conceit of the show up front, wasn't it?
Yeah, but we definitely didn't fall into that for a minute.
Well, because there's only so much that the three of us, chuckle fucks could have managed that we were actually well informed about without doing external research.
To be fair to you and the point that you're making, yeah, we did try that out for a while, and then we hit heavy water, and then we're like, in
No!
Stanford, and we're like, or no, not Stanford, was it Stanford? The prison
Yeah,
experiments?
I mean, according
that
to
was
y'all,
episode 8.
Stanford you were not happy with, but
Yeah, we hit those episodes, and then it was like, yeah, maybe you don't need to be super passionate. Maybe you can just find something, anything.
All right.
But maybe
well,
not everything.
content.
the Black Dahlia murders next week.
Oh, I would love that
I would actually
so
love that too.
much. But I do want to say, if anybody listening wants to discuss this more, wants some articles, hit us up on the socials. I, sometimes post on Instagram a week late, but it's there at the Disinformed Podcast.
And you are doing a lovely job.
I think I am going to log into our Twitter and try that. I think that could be really fun.
Good luck with that.
Ooh.
Courtney and I, every now and again, passingly mention trying to do some TikTok stuff because that's what the kids and
It's what
the
the youths are into these
into.
days.
Oh, them youths.
So I feel like if we divide and conquer, we might be able to hit some new people.
Well, if you want to, I will film myself lip syncing to a really bad '80s metal track, and then pan
That would
to
be
a
perfect.
meth addicted woman with 2 teeth with like a roller bag behind her and like a tooth fairy outfit.
I can
And
tell
then
you
pan back to me and-
precisely where in Central to find this,
Okay.
so you can be authentic.
Can I get her and the cat with the broken down wheelchair, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
just do like a mashup?
It could be like Mr. Rogers'
Oh,
Neighborhood, but different.
You know what it could be? It could be Nirvana's heart-shaped box, and it could get right up to the chorus, and right at the chorus, it'll pan to the guy in the wheelchair. They'll go, "Hey, wait!"
I wanted to go with the Bruno Mars grenade and just actually have them
Oh my
vie
God.
for it. That was my hope, but what are you gonna do?
I was going to tell you, John, I saw TikTok this morning from another podcast, and they literally just posted footage of them recording, and they had 400,000 views.
Okay. Well, I feel like there's things that we can do here.
We need to get funny first, and
And no.
Say it.
attractive. Go ahead.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Fire it
yeah.
off. That helps.
Yeah.
Speaking of though, I will miss you guys next week.
Boo.
We won't miss you. But
I know. I'm actually
I
kind
will
of
shed a
excited to
single
be
tear.
cucked. You know, I
By
can't
God?
wait to get the
You're gonna feel like Michael.
It's
I-
gonna.
Hey, that's my job.
yeah. So for the listeners, I will not be on next week. I know that you're heartbroken because I'm just such a narcissist that I think everyone loves me. But I will be in Chicago. But you guys are going to be talking about something probably entertaining and infinitely more funny with me gone. But I can't wait to get the message from Michael saying that the episode is up, so that while I'm out in Chicago, I can pull it up and hear you guys talk silly nonsense words.
The first episode you'll have listened to in about 87.
I'm excited to finally become long-time participant, first-time listener.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah.
But Michael, would you like me to go next week?
Yes.
Okay, because
Yes,
I
please.
have got a whale of a tale for y'all. We are going to talk about the famed or infamous Arizona institution, otherwise known as Stardust Ranch.
Okay.
And that look is precisely what I was expecting. You're
Right
going to
on.
have a hell of a rocket ride, John. You're going to be sad you missed it, but
Oh,
it'll be
wait a
fun to
minute.
listen
Feel it.
to.
Oh no!
Is it a cryptid thing?
No, it is. I'll give you a teaser. It is the purported Skinwalker Ranch of Arizona.
Oh, it's exactly what I was thinking.
Mhm.
Aw,
Oh.
fuck.
You're going to have
I
a
mean,
good
it's
time.
not too late to cancel.
You're like,
You
You
can
can just
phone
record
in.
while you're there. Yeah.
From the
Kristen
you can go in the
with
closet.
Becky.
Oh, maybe.
They probably have better sex.
True.
Also, not like the listeners
Hot.
care, but I'll just tease it. We have a full band show in the works. We just can't say when just yet, but it's gonna be a rip roaring good time. At the end
August of
summer.
2022.
Yes,
Yeah.
but we'll announce that when we can. But I'm excited.
Yay!
Can't stop thinking about it. And that and MSG and milkers and titties.
There he goes.
And the umami flavor.
I get really excited to like arm you guys with new knowledge, and all you really get from it is
It's
new
umami?
sex jokes.
Yeah.
Boobs.
You listened to this show. You knew what you were getting into.
Also, like, you are a chef and you have made like delectable dishes and you've served them and you've watched people just pour sauce all over it.
I was
you
going
know?
to say,
Like-
you missed your joke, John. It's like, you have made delicious food that I've eaten, and I still just stare at your tits. So, one track mind Watkins.
Oh my god.
I'm too horny of an individual to be allowed out in public.
Indeed, that's what they say.
You know, I came into this like a bad relationship where I was like, I can fix them. I can make them better.
You're so stupid.
I know.
You're definitely not the first that tried, and I guarantee you won't be the last.
I have an ex-girlfriend in Arkansas who yeah, she didn't win that fight.
And now she touches things that are dead, other than emotionally. So,
Now she
it's,
thinks her lipstick is her personality, so
Are you talking about her clit again, or
oh Jesus Christ.
that was her personality as far as I was aware? But anywho, before we go into further slander, ladies and germaphobes, thank you for being here. As always, we are elated to have you, and I think we're gonna have a semi-schizophrenic schedule for the next little while as far as the tubes of you go. So I'm just gonna tell you that if you want to keep up with us, you should probably subscribe, because when content comes winging your way, it is the best way for you to be informed and able to pounce on it eagerly once it flees. But otherwise, every single Marvelous Monday morning, if this is your first time in, you can check back with us on your preferred provider app, and we will give you fresh podcast madness right in the face every Monday morning.
Yeah, and
Kapow.
if you like, subscribe, comment on anything, anywhere, as long as it's somewhere that we can see it and we can reach out to you directly, leave us a review. We'll send you Michael's address.
Yeah.
To do with whatever you want to do.
You can mail him anything.
Anything.
MSG.
You could do anything. I mean, it's a satire. If you wanted to break into his house, hide into his closet, wait till he's sleeping, and just pop out at the right time, you could do that.
Are
Or
you
if
trying
you've
to
ever-
get someone to BTK Michael?
If you've ever wanted to kiss a virgin, you can go to Michael's house.
Are you trying to get someone to BTS Michael? But yes, we will send you things that you shouldn't be able to procure without a warrant. So please investigate that. But I think that wraps it up in another glorious MSG saturated burrito for this glorious week here at the Disinformed Podcast. Thank you all for being here. We sincerely appreciate it. And so for all of us here, to all of you out there, stay salty, my friends. For the Disinformed Podcast, I'm Shane.
I'm John.
I'm Michael.
I'm Courtney.